You're listening to Miss Style, Strength, and Grace with Deidre Murphy. This is your one-stop shop for style, fashion, health, and fitness. Deidre's passion is to help empower women to reach their fullest potential, both inside and out. Deidre and her guests will be discussing how to develop your style, health, and lifestyle hacks to energize your day and inspire you to keep reaching higher levels of success. Deidre is a professional fashion stylist, health guru, and Mrs. Washington 2017. It's time to get open and honest with Deidre.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode, listeners. I am eager to share something that's been on my heart actually for quite a while now, and I even shared about it on Facebook, on a Facebook Live on what I call my Mondays in the Mirror, and I even did a little post about it on Instagram, just shared a selfie where I was actually not wearing any makeup, which for those of you that know me in person know that that is a huge deal for me to even walk out of the house without any makeup on, let alone post a selfie and a picture that's been unedited, raw on social media. Now, let's dive into why. I think we all have that sense of a little bit of self-consciousness, a little bit of worrying about like, oh, if I post this raw, unedited picture of me without any makeup on, everyone's going to see my flaws or my wrinkles or my acne. And yes, I have those fears and struggles about my own face, but it goes even deeper than that. So the biggest thing that I've struggled with for 30 something years now is the fact that I've never felt beautiful. Let's let that sink in for just a moment. I've literally never felt beautiful my entire life. And people might scoff at that and say, what are you talking about? You know that you're, cute or pretty or whatever. You were Mrs. Washington, for crying out loud, a pageant girl. Like, how do you not feel pretty? Well, I never have. Even in full on hair and makeup, glammed up, about ready to walk on stage with the false eyelashes on and lipstick and everything, I've always felt insecure. And it comes down to my skin and what I looked at and what I perceived in the mirror. So let's go backwards a little bit into middle school, high school. So I never really thought much about my appearance in elementary school. I mean, I liked to dress up, and my mom would always make me a new Daisy Kingdom dress in Easter time or around the Easter time, and I would wear that on Sunday for my Sunday best. And you know what I'm talking about with those Daisy Kingdom dresses, the one that practically had a big doily around the front. Yeah, my mom would hand make those. We'd get a new pattern every year. I'd pick out my fabric and she'd make it for me. She'd curl my hair in the foam rollers overnight, so that way my hair was big and poodle-esque for Easter Sunday. And I loved that. And I attribute a little bit of my sense of style and girliness to my dear mom for dressing me up. And I loved that aspect of getting ready or being in somebody's wedding or just having an event to dress up for. And then into middle school, oh, the glorious middle school years, right? I started to really notice my flaws. I think we all go through this, but mine wasn't like a body image issue. I felt fine about my shape and my size. I was a really active kid on dance and cheerleading and gymnastics, so I never really struggled with the body image issues until actually my late 20s. That's a whole nother topic. But I started to notice the acne, the things that were cropping up on my skin, but B, I started to notice my hereditary dark circles. I don't know why I'd never noticed them before. Maybe it's just because in middle school, I finally was able to start wearing makeup. My mom was allowing that portion in my life. And so by starting to wear makeup, I started noticing all the little things that I felt like weren't perfect, that I needed to conceal, cover up, rather than using makeup to accentuate my best features. And I love my mom, but she didn't know how to really teach me how to wear makeup. She didn't know how to really wear makeup and apply it that well herself. So even though she took me to some Mary Kay parties and even to the makeup counters at the mall, I never really learned how to apply makeup properly. And in middle school, I really started focusing on my dark circles under my eyes. And it's just one of those things, they're hereditary. Those of you that have these also know what I'm talking about, where it's not just like, oh, a little bit of shadows or bluishness under the eyes after a night of not sleeping, but it is a constant thing that's there every single day, no matter how much sleep one gets, no matter how much makeup you put on. There's always the purple bluish circle and distinctive line of a circle underneath my eyes, like a half moon of blue shadows underneath my eyes. It is what it is. And I never really knew how to, quote unquote, cover those up with makeup. Especially in middle school, I would just cake it on to the point where it was a hot mess underneath my eyes. And if you've ever worn too much makeup, you know what I'm talking about when it starts to cake and wrinkle in those fine lines, especially when you're a youthful person. I was in my 11, 12, 13 year tween age, and then into high school as a teenager. You don't really have wrinkles. Well, if you're wearing so much makeup, it has to go somewhere, and it would just become this crinkly hot mess underneath my eyes. So because of that, I would take a really long time to get ready because I felt like if my makeup wasn't perfect, I couldn't leave the house. And especially into high school, when you're getting to classes at about 7:15 a.m., that meant I was always late for classes in the morning. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pay the price. I'll do the after school detention. I'll do the lunch detention because I was so worried about making sure I felt like my makeup was decent enough to leave the house. And when I say decent enough, I mean like to perfection. If I felt like there was a zit that I hadn't covered up, I would wash my face off and start over, which again led to even being more late. And that led to even more problems in high school. Not only a high school, but college, when here I am, you're on your own, like nobody's telling you to get up and go to class, especially when you're living in the dorms. You got to make those choices on your own, set your own alarm clock. And there would be days where I would altogether skip classes because I didn't feel confident enough to leave my dorm room. I didn't feel like my makeup was good enough to even leave my room, my dorm, or even when I was living off campus to leave my house that I was living in. I would sit there and focus on all my flaws, all the negatives, and become paralyzed with fear of judgment, paralyzed by the fear of not being perfect, and paralyzed by the fact that I didn't feel beautiful enough to even embrace and talk to other people. Even if they were my roommates or my, so-called best friends, I wouldn't even leave my room to talk to my housemates without having a little bit of makeup on. Like that's how self-conscious I was. And there would be days where I'd even skip classes, or if I had a midday break, so maybe I had morning classes and then a couple hours in between before my afternoon classes started in college, I would head back to my dorm or my residence and wash my face off completely to redo it in hopes that I would feel a little bit better, a little more confident to go to class and do the things that I needed to do that day, whether it was just attending classes or going to work after classes, or even into my junior and senior year when I was student teaching, making sure that I felt confident enough to go into a classroom and command the room of third graders. This also led to, in high school, the reason why I started wearing eyewear, glasses around my eyes. And a lot of people don't know this. Actually, maybe only my husband knows this, but one of the reasons why I was okay with wearing glasses was because I felt like I could hide behind them. Now, granted, I did develop, is it nearsightedness, where you can see things close up but not far away? So in high school, when I started having problems seeing the whiteboard in the class and having to squint just to see what the teacher was writing, my mom knew I needed to go to the eye doctor, get my eyes checked, and I did need corrective lenses. But my mom, thinking that I would be so concerned with how glasses and frames looked on me, she figured I would either want a really minimalistic frame with maybe just some metaling and very thin rims around the frames and the lenses, so that way they would kind of blend into my face and not be noticed, or she figured I'd want to start wearing contacts right away. And I actually was on board with choosing really significant frames for my face. There's a two-part reason for this. One, I did see it as an extension of my style and my fashion sense. Now, granted, I've mentioned this in other podcasts, how I started to develop my sense of style and my fashion choices because I never felt like I could be the prettiest girl in the room, but I thought I could be the most well-dressed or the best dressed girl in the room. And that was why my fashion sense started to develop so quickly at a young age. But I saw frames as a way to kind of create more outfits and use that as an extension of my style choices. So I was okay with that. But two, I also felt like it was hiding the things I was concerned about. I felt like a thick rimmed frame eyewear with like the thick plastic frames were not only cute, but that they would hide my dark circles and the things that I was most insecure about on my face. I felt like, hey, even if I have my makeup on and I feel like my dark circles are showing, I can throw on my eyewear and it will hide what I'm most concerned about. And that was how I was able to start finally living life a little bit easier. Was I would pop my frames on, feel like I was at least hiding my dark circles, even though really I wasn't. If they're there, that you know that they're there regardless of eyewear and frames or not. And it became such a part of me that I became known as the girl that wore glasses. Like I was the cheerleader that also wore glasses. I was the girl that also did debate that wore glasses. And I was the girl at the retail shopping store when I was working that wore the cute glasses. And it became such a part of my identity that I didn't lose that side of me. I never like wanted to lose that side of me. I was like, oh, I'm the girl in the glasses. And I was okay with that. And then as I started to get into pageantry later in life, I noticed that it wasn't who I wanted to be anymore necessarily. And that's okay, but it also detracted from when I would be competing. And as badly as I wanted to be able to compete in pageants, I also wanted to be taken for who I was. So I had this struggle of, do I wear glasses in my pageants, whether it's in the interview room or on stage, or do I not? And ultimately, I decided to not wear glasses when I started competing because it really did hide my eyes from my judges. And the whole point of pageantry is to connect with your judges one-on-one, both in the interview room and on stage. And especially on stage, if you're under harsh stage lights, then you're getting a reflection with glasses on. You're not able to make eye contact with your judges and really make that one-on-one emotional response in them. So I knew I needed to not wear frames on stage. And then two, to keep consistency, I decided to not wear frames and glasses in the interview room. And that was so hard for me to make that choice because I felt like they're not going to be listening to what I say in my interview. They're only going to be focusing on the dark circles under my eyes. And I had to get over that, even though I was 23, 24 years old at the time with my first pageants, and just let it go. I tried to represent myself the best that I could, tried to do my makeup the best I could, hired, professional makeup artists whenever I was competing so that way I could feel my best, even with makeup on when I was competing. Obviously, I ended up winning Miss Columbia Basin and I felt like I did well in my pageant career and ultimately won Mrs. Washington in 2017. But it still has been this huge part of my identity as I am either the girl in glasses or I am the girl that has dark circles under her eyes. And as I got more involved in pageantry, and the year before I won Mrs. Washington, I really started to learn about positive affirmations. I've talked about positive affirmations quite a bit. You can do a ton of research on it, but I started listening to a book on audio by Joel Osteen, Pastor Joel Osteen. And it was The Power of I Am is the name of the book. And he really taught me that you can develop the things that you want to see in yourself by using powerful I am statements. Not I will be or I want to be or someday I will, but in the moment, I am such and such, or I am this person now. And obviously he uses his whole book to talk about it, gives resources, also gives examples, both modern day and even biblical examples of people stepping into that authority right now and really almost like faking it until you make it. He doesn't term it that way, but that's what kept coming to me, was like, fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it. So I started to develop my own I am statement. And it became something I would repeat to myself every single morning, every single day, every single night, multiple times throughout the day. Not just like, oh, I said it once. Okay, now I'm good. I would say it 10, 15, 20 times throughout the day to myself, both silently, out loud. I would write it down. I would journal it. I would put it on Post-its and put it on my mirror in the morning when I was getting ready. And my I am statement is that I am strong, talented, and beautiful. I chose the word strong because I don't think it just comes down to physical strength. Granted, I was starting to learn more about my own physical strength and working out at the time, but I also know so many women that are maybe not physically strong. They couldn't probably lift more than, 5 pounds on each arm, but they are mentally, emotionally the strongest women that I know. I wanted to convey that I am talented, both as a creator, whether it's content creation, but also a talented artist, especially when it comes to style and fashion. That is my true passion for art, is within that realm. And lastly, I decided to use the word beautiful. Although it was so hard for me to start saying that initially, I knew that was the word I needed to say the most, because that was the word I didn't believe at all. I knew that if I started telling myself that at first, it would feel like a lie. And believe me, it did. I would start saying that to myself, and I truly didn't believe it. I was like, I'm just saying this, putting it out there in the universe, hoping that it starts to feel real. I started to feel stronger. I knew that I was talented, but that word beautiful just felt so fake when I was saying it out loud. This was about 2 years ago. And I want to share this with you today because I finally realized I started to finally feel beautiful just this summer. And this is 2018. And I probably started saying this affirmation in 2016. I finally started to feel it because I noticed myself being more and more okay with going without my glasses, going to events, showing up as myself without wearing some sort of eyewear or frames to hide behind, feeling like, hey, even if I threw on just a tad bit of makeup, I'm not all glammed out like I would be if I was going on stage for a pageant, but that's okay. And I can still show up and I don't have to wear glasses. If I want to wear glasses, I can, but I didn't feel obligated anymore to hide behind those frames. I didn't feel like I had to grab them in order to have the confidence to talk to a new person in my life, to have that one-on-one client consultation, or to go on stage and do a presentation to a group of business owners. I didn't feel like I had to hide anymore. And it was actually a really liberating experience for me. I like the opportunity of wearing different looks and feeling free to choose and not feeling like I'm pigeonholed to having to pick out of a certain set of eyewear or frames to wear. Not only that, it's a little bit more cost effective because if you wear eyeglasses, you know that they can add up, especially with my taste. It's funny. I would go to the eye doctor, pick out like my 3 to 4 favorite frames and start narrowing it down from there. And she was always saying something like, wow, you happen to pick the most expensive frames that we have on display. And I was like, of course. Yeah, I would. Oh, these are the Gucci ones? Yeah, I didn't even know that, but it makes sense that I would pick the Gucci and the Dior and all the name brand designer ones, of course. So it's a little bit easier on the pocketbook to not have to wear frames all the time. But like I was saying, it's a truly liberating experience for me. And it's been nice because now I can feel like I can truly see things. If you wear frames or glasses, you know kind of the struggle of like, oh, let me take off my glasses so I can see that close up, or let me put my bifocals on so I can see that, or let me throw this on my eyes so I can see far away. And now that I have the option of wearing contacts more in my life, it's really nice to have those experiences where I can look out in the distance and see whatever is in the distance, whether it's a bird that my husband is pointing out on our country property where we see a lot of hawks that are diving and flying around in the air, to seeing a sign on the road while I'm driving. Always a good thing to be able to read the signs. But I just wanted to share that with you because it finally started to feel real this summer. And it took over 2 years to finally feel that. I want to encourage you to come up with your own affirmations and to push through, because it might feel like a lie at first, but I promise you it will start to feel real and you'll start to believe it, and you just don't know when it's going to happen. For some people, maybe it takes a month. I have clients that I work with and we develop what I call their style statement, which is a positive I am affirmation statement. And some of them truly start to believe it within a month or two of working with me. Some clients, it can take 4, 5, 6 months, year, 2 years before they finally start to feel like that beautiful, strong, and empowered woman that they are. So my whole point with sharing this with you today is to help you realize that you are also beautiful and that you can use your affirmations to focus on your best qualities and your best features, rather than focusing on the things that you're most worried about and saying, oh, well, my butt is too big, or I don't like my legs, or I don't like this about myself. Focus on your best features. Focus on what is beautiful. Focus on what you find a great quality of yourself. It might start out being internal qualities, like I have a great humor, I have a great caring spirit. Focus on those first and then add in some of the other external features. Even if you have to dig deep and say, I have really cute toes or toenails. You know, some people don't have cute toes. So maybe yours are really cute, or maybe you have really long, beautiful, thick hair. Focus on your best features and your best qualities and use those as your own daily positive affirmations. And then put those somewhere where you're going to see, use, and say them on a daily basis. Like I said, I put mine on Post-its at first and stuck them on my mirror. I journaled in my morning affirmations and my evening journal time as well. And then I said those things out loud during the day. Even if you have to record them and put them on a voice memo on your phone and just replay that as you're driving somewhere, I would highly recommend that you do it and highly encourage you to do it, because you are beautiful, you are strong, and you are talented in whatever it is that you are doing. So with that, I hope that you start to take your own power back and develop your own positive affirmations. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Hey ladies, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. To help empower more women, please be a doll and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to stylebydeidre.com.